spoiler alert, if you haven't played the game yet, you may want to wait to listen to this. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. My name is John Wee, Community Manager at Santa Monica Studio. This is the Art Book Commentary. We have an epic lineup for you guys. If you guys want to go around the room, say your names, titles.
I'm Rafael Grassetti, principal character artist in the project.
I'm Del Longfish. I'm the lead character concept artist.
I'm Nate Stevens, principal environment artist.
Hi, my name's Luke Berliner. I'm the lead environment concept artist.
John Pelamarchuk, principal environment artist.
And my name is Corey Barlog, and I'm just the vice principal. No, I'm director because I'm so funny.
So we're going to start here with the characters of God of War, starting with our titular character, Kratos. Could you guys talk a little bit about the inception of how the design came about, transitioning to the Norse design?
This took a long time to get to. Like, we know what Kratos looks like, but it was amazing how long it took to get to even just getting Kratos to look right at this higher resolution.
Yeah, I think early on we started to investigate a lot of even actors and how maybe we're gonna run into scanning a person versus actually getting modeling in 3D. And we did that with Atreus, but with him, we started looking at a lot of the old games and his features and how, what do we translate to this new one? So like the early models are actually taking from God of War 3 models and trying to take it to the next gen. So we started just to sculpt a lot of the wrinkles and try to play up on the first playable.
Yeah, and I think something with Kratos too, early on, I think Jose had kind of hit a look, Jose Cabrera, kind of with the beard and stuff. But then we were looking at kind of how the costume works, and we were looking at, do we want to go full Norse? And then what we had to kind of do is, the character has a great kind of history with him, so there's these iconic elements that we wanted to kind of show, so you can see where he's fully decked out, looks like a beast and all this stuff, which was a really nice direction. But what we also wanted to show is the tattoo and these things that are iconic, because we also came into this knowing that the blades wouldn't be part of this. So we wanted to leave those kind of hallmarks that we still showed with the character. So it was a lot of back and forth and a lot of collaboration on the 2D and 3D. We did a lot of that.
That big bear skin was really cool. I was a fan of that. It felt a little too Game of Thronesy, but it was really neat. It kind of was evocative, I think, of the sort of mythology of the new area. But I agree. I think we very quickly realized it's just covering up a lot. It's not really, I think, doing what it could do. So it was nice to see that we kind of evolved.
I think we selected 3, but in reality we did more than 40 of those sketches.
Well more.
Yeah, yeah. This one, like I said, it went on for a long time of really trying to figure it out. It's funny because you'd imagine that we spent, 8 games, 7 or 8 games, like figuring out what this guy looks like. But it felt like we were starting from scratch, taking it to this level of fidelity, because so much, it's so easy to make it look wrong.
And that's something I think, even realizing too, is like, even though we do have this established character, Kratos kind of means something a little unique to everyone else. The character's so good, kind of people own that design and who it is. So it was a lot of back and forth, but it was great.
Do you remember early on when it was like the small incubation group, it was pitched like he wouldn't even have abs. He would have like a pot belly.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like
it was the athlete during the
handlebar
off
mustache.
season. We were saying like he was a pro athlete during the off season.
He has
That
the
was
abs
our
now, and
pitch.
that looks rad.
We had a version like that without the abs for a long time, yeah.
I remember too just seeing the progression of Kratos from God of War 3 to the proportions that we had now, and how we had to continue to kind of walk him away from that, because with the previous camera angle, his proportions were really pushed beyond what was normal for a human. And as we started to make the environments more realistic and do a much more cinematic camera, like, it really looked a little jarring in the beginning.
Yeah, someone actually made human style hands. Remember that?
Yeah.
They're actually the right size and they look little in the game. I was like, look at these little hands.
And the other thing I think with the costume and stuff that Corey had asked for from the beginning too is kind of with all of our cast and characters is make sure that you can kind of feel the hand of who made this, because we pick up where they're kind of subsistence living out in nature. And I think one thing you told us, Corey, was more the biker feel versus kind of the ornate pantheon that we'd seen in the previous games. So that was another kind of thing that we pulled on with the design.
Yeah, tough and makeshift. Though it did turn out that when you look at all this later stuff, the armors that are more ornate, having that feel of the Huldra brothers, like that's also really cool as
Yeah.
well. It feels awesome when you save up and purchase one of those
And
later in the game.
And I think that's a nice thing. We get like the visual arc that kind of complements the narrative arc. So you get that more dramatic kind of change in there. And then also, like you were talking about the bear skin, that was also something we had talked about early on between Kratos and the son, Raph, with the...
Yeah, with the wolf and the bear.
Yeah.
And that changed a couple times back
Yes,
and forth of
swap-
like who's
swapping.
who's gonna be what. Just for readability in the game, because when we start putting Kratos in black, we run into a lot of issues of a lot of stuff not showing
Yeah.
all the details and stuff. So we ended up changing a couple times.
Yeah, and that's one of those things we kind of always try to put the intent. And something that's great about working on this game is, I think, Corey, with your story background, the narrative, there's a lot of that put in all the characters. And like the bear idea was maybe he's a little more aggressive, more impulsive, where if the son's the wolf, he's a little more sly thinking.
Focusing on Atreus, what were some of the challenges of designing, Kratos' son?
I know one of the first things we talked about, I think half the studio wanted the kid to be yoked out, like a little bodybuilder, kind of being a Kratos' son, thinking he should be
Huh.
really massive. But I think Corey's intent was to do the opposite.
Like that little kid bodybuilder?
Yeah.
The tiny,
Little Hercules.
Yeah, I definitely was not too into that. I mean, honestly, the kids' look kind of came to light when we cast Sonny. Like for me, we kind of drew a bunch of stuff. You guys did the exploration where you kind of said, here's what Kratos looks like. Let's see what a 10-year-old version of
Yeah.
Kratos would look like. And we tried to kind of do all these different
Deconstruct
versions.
it.
And nothing really connected and nothing felt right. And it's really hard, I think, to draw kids, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so little detail going on that the uniqueness is so subtle, it's so small, right? And it's like what came from is casting Sonny, seeing his headshot and going like, man, that's the kid right
Yeah.
there, that's what he looks like. So that was a really good find, I think, when we were able to get him.
And I think on the concept side, it was really nice talking about going against maybe what was expected, the idea that he's intentionally looks a little more meek. We wanted that to kind of play up his innocence with the world, because Kratos has a view of the gods and mythology that's he has one way, but we also wanted kind of this innocence and wonder to fill the world.
Yeah, you need that balance, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to end up like the Defenders where everybody's just punching somebody. And you're like, oh, wow, there's no difference, right? You look at the Avengers, it's like everybody has their part that they play. If the kid was big and strong, then it would be Kratos and tiny Kratos doing
Yeah,
the same
exactly.
thing. And it's really like each of them, as even in the game we say, like every god has their own sort of uniqueness,
Hmm.
right? And his uniqueness is vastly different from Kratos. It's just what he carries with him is the negative sides, right? Like
Yeah.
the bad traits of Kratos are part of his DNA.
I even remember one of the early, and maybe an internal playtest too, like we heard lightning in the background and the kid was like, oh, is that giants fighting? And just this really cool way of looking at the world where Kratos is a little
Oh,
more
yeah.
like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I think for this character too, we could imagine him growing up and all the elements that we could add into his costume, like Kratos's touches and the mom's touches and all this stuff.
Mhm.
I think that helped bring all the visual to life.
Yeah, like he's got Kratos' red sash, and when you see the mom, she's wrapped in yellow, and he's got her kind of scarf around his neck, so he's kind of walking the line between both of them.
Yeah, it's this cool authenticity. I think it exists both within the creation of the worlds and the characters, is that feeling of even little details on these characters make things feel more authentic, more real. The
Yeah.
idea of wearing Kratos's, piece of Kratos's cloth really does feel like things were assembled with whatever was nearby, whatever was around. It tells the story of the world, but also kind of identifies who the character is rather than having this perfectly like made suit, right? It's kind of the early Spider-Man homemade suit versus the professionally made suit, right?
Even trying to mimic some of the stuff that he sees on Kratos, like the wrappings on the hands, even though like not knowing what those are. Like start a little shoulder pad or stuff that mimics the designs on
Yeah.
both ways.
I don't think you can see it in these ones, but we have these tattoos in the game, and Atreus has one going up his arm, and we wanted that to kind of help him with shooting the bow. So we designed it so when he actually pulls the bow back, the tattoo's in line, like that actually gives help to the arrows. So all those little areas we try and pay attention to.
Yeah, we didn't really think people would go that deep into trying to solve this. In like E3 2016, people were already solving
Yeah.
all the tattoos on his arm.
Yeah.
And it was like, what, like 2 weeks before we were going to go off E3, you said, these are gibberish. Should I change these? And I was like, yes, please. We need to make those actually say something.
That was a lot of the design. Same thing for the face, because you mentioned Sunny and casting him, but then bringing it to like doing characterization and bringing a lot of the story, like the scars on his face and a lot of the, growing up and being in a harsh universe. And
Yes, I like that we haven't answered the question of how he got the scar on his cheek, because there is a story that's going to go behind that, but I kind of want to wait for that story and use it in a later iteration of the game, but everybody keeps asking about that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that was all has intent behind it.
Yeah. I like too how you guys focused on like bringing some of the Greek stuff into the costuming, but also like he's sort of the bridge into the Norse costuming. So it's sort of that combination of his two homes.
Yeah, no, and that was even like between, like Ralph said, like the Kratos sash and the scarf from the mom. Like he literally is two halves of
yeah, and
of
it
those
was
characters.
really fun too to play with all the upgrades and how he improves upon he's wearing, and add a little bit of that touch of the different creatures of the universe, and how do we bring that into the costuming. That was also really fun to play with.